And hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome from all around the world. I am your host, Jim Masters, and this is the Jim Masters Show Live. Hope you're having a good day today. If you're not, well, you have found the right spot on the dial. Not necessarily the dial, right? That's a true broadcaster term. It flows out of me to say the right spot on the dial. But I guess we'll say that this is a dial. We'll go a little old school and say that you flipped a dial, you turn to this particular channel, although on YouTube, they do call them channels. So let's say that you're on this particular channel, the Jim Masters TV channel at YouTube, also Jim Masters TV on Facebook. I am your host, Jim Masters. We are broadcasting and simulcasting worldwide right now for you to entertain you, to inform you, to educate you, to inspire you with this really cool show that we launched now as of today, 11 weeks ago. Congratulations to you and you and you and you. We always toast to our worldwide audience and to all the faithful, loyal, amazing guests, as well as audience and viewers who continue to watch the show, support the show in terms of just telling people about it, having watch parties, posting all kinds of comments on the Facebook page and on the YouTube channel all day long. Not just when the show is on, we get comments about the show, the broadcast, the guests, the entertainment, the set. I mean, just about everything you can think of all day long. And I love it. I get to see all the comments. I get to see all of the love. And again, the sharing of the links, the watch parties you guys have. We've got an audience that watches literally from coast to coast and beyond in the United States, Canada, Europe, Asia, Australia, Africa. We've heard from all points of the globe, and it's amazing. Now, if you're just joining us for the very first time, good to have you with us. We've been waiting 11 weeks for you. This is an entertainment lifestyle talk show series that has the modern vibe and modern sensibilities of today, with some of that old school polish of some of the previous hosts and the way shows were done in the past. We built a set here 11 weeks ago. I work in the television and radio industry and have for a number of years as a television and radio personality and host and presenter and journalist, actor, voiceover artist, narrator, stage MC, writer, producer, you name it. And 11 weeks ago, this is our 11th anniversary. Congratulations, everybody. We built the set here at the home studio because I've been working out of the house for several weeks, doing radio shows professionally and more. We built the set, got the lights, did everything we had to do to make it look professional. And we just did a studio upgrade about a week ago as well. Actually, a week ago tonight, we did a major studio upgrade, and we're so happy we've done that. And you guys have just been responding. Something different every single day. We don't do the same old, same old. We've got amazing guests from all walks of life, levels of success, genres and fields of endeavor, from television and music and film and Broadway and science and food. And you think about it, we've got it here on the show and much, much more. We also go on location. We do on location segments. We have comedy, we have inspiration, we have deep conversations, and lots more. Again, it's like a traditional talk show series with the modern vibes and sensibilities of today. So I am your host. It's great to see all of you here. I toast all of you, and your favorites are here. We do this on every show. This has become a staple of our show. We welcome our friend, George Burns. And there he is with a cigar. He says hello. He greets all of you. He sees all of you. He is part of the show. And how does this happen? Again, we did a nostalgic week a couple of weeks ago, and everybody said, keep George on the show. So George is here, and he greets all of you as well. The other cast of character, and we have casts of characters here, not just me. Jeannie is here. And look at that. It's almost like 3D with our studio upgrade. She sees you. She's blinking. She greets you as well in the official I Dream of Jeannie bottle. Everybody loves that. Everybody looks for that as well. Here's another character. We had Hollywood legend actress Sky Aubrey on the show about a week ago, and her father was president of, I think, MGM and CBS, and a brilliant actress. She's been in so many movies and TV shows, even Batman. And I showed her the Silver Canine, which is sort of like a mascot here on our show, and she absolutely loved Silver, which I got on a TV shoot in Europe, Switzerland. She says, we have a Silver Lab here at the house. So do we. So he's one of our mascots as well. Everybody looks for Silver to be on the show. And wait, there's more. Of course, every host always has more. Jimmy is here, and Jimmy says hello to you guys as well, and he sends his love. Look at that face, huh? I'll have him host if I'm under the weather or I'm ever on vacation. We could have Jimmy fill in. So Jimmy is here as well. Again, this show is about light, levity, and love, or as we call it, lovity. And again, that's a word that we sort of coined just about 2 weeks ago, and everybody's fallen in love with it. We also do this. We say lights, camera, action. With lights, camera, action, we share the lovity, and we say the show is about to begin. Welcome to the Jim Masters Show Live. Now that we took care of everything and checked off everything we need to do here, because everybody's looking for these things to happen, how's your day going? It's good to see you guys. Welcome to the show. I see all these, that's a bevy of comments already, and that's cool to see. We've got a very special guest who really is a legend in the music, film, and television industry. He's worked with some of the greats. He's helped guide them. He's helped make them a success from so many different roles within music, film, and television. His name is Bob Hinkle. And if you don't know that name as a household name, boy, you will know some of the people that he's had an opportunity to work with and influence from, again, the music industry, film, as well as television. He's helped facilitate ways that people have become great successes. But there's more to the story, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment when we welcome him to the show. First, we want to welcome all of you to the show here on the Jim Masters Show Live. So, yes, the weather has been really, really hot. We got a heat wave here. I think the heat indices here in the Northeast United States. We do this show in the greater New York City area between New York and Boston in the United States. That's where this show originates. Really super scorcher day today. G-Star, awesome, Ripper lineup, lovity. Keep missing life now. Well, stick with us. You will not miss life here at all because this show is full of life. Eileen is in Australia. We tip our hat to her. She's in the Midlands of Eastern Perth, Western Australia. And she says always have a ripper of a time and a ripper lineup of guests. Yeah, great guests coming up all week. And Renee is watching, and Avril is watching in the United Kingdom. Avril, it's wonderful to have you here. Welcome to the show. Love having you here as well. And Merlin is watching in Innerkip, Ontario, Canada. Good to see you as well, my friend. Hi, Jim. Good to see you tonight. We got 3 microphones. That's cool. I love it. We've got tulips coming in from Willie in Holland, in the Netherlands. And you know what she does? She goes to bed in the daytime so she can wake up at 1 a.m. in the Netherlands, in Holland, just to watch our show. She doesn't want to miss our show. So here are your Dutch tulips. There you go. The tulips are for you, Willie. I know you love when I show these. Thank you very, very much. It's good to have you here. And thanks for all of the love and the support. Yes, we are here and you are here as well. Kathleen Walker is here in New York City. Hi, Jim. Always great seeing you. Hi, everyone. I certainly hope you've enjoyed, if you've been with us that long, the last 11 weeks of shows. And if you want to see all the extraordinary interviews, the moving inspirational conversation, the light and levity where we've done shows here at the home studio, even when we don't have a guest, we're always interactive with you guys. Some of the on-location segments and more. We went to the Netherlands, we went to Red Rocks, we went to Malibu and LA, took you to the Brady Bunch house and so much more. Just go to YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, terrific, you're already set up. And when you go to YouTube, go to Jim Masters TV, and every single episode of all these great guests and all these great episodes of the Jim Masters Show talk show series are right there for you on YouTube, fully archived for you. Good to see you in New York City, Kathleen. And hi, everyone. I stayed in my house today. Heat index is 106. Wow. That's in North Carolina. Got to get to the water, or just stay in and fill your bathtub with ice cubes and dive in. I know what you mean. It's really tough. It's tough to even be outside to do any outdoor activities. You didn't see a lot of people out today because it's so incredibly hot. Heat wave time. Summer is here. Hi, Jim, Kathleen, and all. Christine Fairwood watching in Connecticut. We welcome you as well, Christine. Thanks for all these great comments, everybody. 11 weeks. Yes. We congratulate all of you on the 11 weeks. Night after night, we do the show virtually 7 nights a week. There's only a couple nights where we did some studio upgrades, and then we had a family event. We live here along the coast, and we were out along the coast. But generally, we've been here just about every night for 11 weeks, 7 nights a week. Some people do shows once a week, once a month, twice a week. We're here every night for you, which is a lot of work behind the scenes to make it happen. But we're doing it for you, and I'm loving it. Thank you on the congratulations of 11 weeks. Always love your shows. I know you do. Cheers as well. Cheers. Yes, Heat Index is really hot. Thank you very much for the cheers and the celebration. We're celebrating you as well. And Avril in the UK says, hi, Jim. Nice to see you. Just love the show, Jim. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Dear friend June Richardson Osper is in New York City. She's here. She just got back from her vacation in Massachusetts. Good to see you, June. Welcome. That's right. Good to see you guys here. So, welcome to the show. Good to have you with us. We've got a great show in store. We're going to welcome my guest right now. First, let me tell you a little bit about the guest. Renee is here as well in Iowa. Good to see you, Renee. You're always a blessing. You're always having watch parties. You're always posting. You're always sharing the links. You are amazing. Love you, Renee, because you've been really, really solid with assisting and just telling people about this amazing show that is quite unique. A little bit different and live and ad-lib. There's no scripts, no teleprompter, nothing, everything else is formatted. We want a good product here for you, but the rest of it is us together. So everybody's saying hello to everybody. And Linda, good evening from Alabama. Always a great show. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you love the show, Linda. We'll keep it coming your way as long as you are there. Some people would say, get a life, but I'm glad this is yours. I love that. That's right. Some people do need to get a life. So if they don't have a life, tell them to come here and we'll get them one. That's it. Welcome to the show, everybody. We're going to tell you about our amazing guests. We're going to dive right in. We've done all the welcomes. We've done all the intros and all the wonderful things that really can tell you what this show is like in terms of the spirit and the vibe and the positivity. There is our very special guest, Bob Hinkle. Now, the question about Bob isn't what has he done in the music and entertainment business. Rather, the question is, what hasn't he done? Well, affiliations with the band and the Geils Band and Etta James and Harry Chapin and married Kate and Ashley Olsen and Manfred Mann and Patti LuPone and Gallagher and Naked Eyes and so many others. In one principal way or another, each was strongly associated with our very special, illustrious guest, entertainment extraordinaire, Bob Hinkle. Bob's casual dress and humble, laid-back demeanor belies the fact that he's someone of real, long-lasting significance in music and in entertainment. During a career that spans 5 decades, the silver-bearded co-founder and manager of White Horse Black Mountain has been a singer, songwriter, recording artist, composer, lyricist, poet, corporate executive, consultant, artist, manager, executive producer, and record label founder, president, and CEO. And he is here exclusively as my guest on the Jim Masters Show Live and just for you guys, our phenomenal audience. These roles brought Bob in contact with a virtual who's who of the music and entertainment industries as he moved from concert stage to the recording studio to corporate office. He's negotiated and administered recording and publishing contracts, managed major record artists, recording artists, optioned literary works for stage and film. He's managed worldwide concert tours, negotiated licenses for feature films, television, and merchandising, and administered relationships with major talent agencies. I think I need him to be my agent. He's done it all, and all he has to do is pick up a phone, and his phone is like the bat phone, you know what I mean, or that red phone in the White House. You just pick up the phone, and things happen. It's amazing. He was referred to us by a dear friend, June, and we really appreciate that. He's an Asheville native. This is a beautiful, beautiful area, Asheville. He says he grew up in West Asheville before it was cool. He spent more than 40 years based in New York City at the center of popular music. Bob began his career as a performer in high school and college at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Matter of fact, one of my television colleagues, actually, Doug Llewellyn, is a dear friend of mine. We've worked together for 15 years. He hosts the People's Court, and we do close-up television radio together. And he is from Asheville and still lives in Asheville, North Carolina. It's a beautiful town. He was a member of a trio called the Good Earth. When he and his bandmates graduated, they headed straight to New York City, where a recording contract awaited them with the Dino Voice label. The band's first LP, How Deep is the Ocean, was released soon after, featuring Bob as lead vocalist and on guitar. Then followed a couple of years touring and recording with the Good Earth. These included sharing the stages with Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. The trio also sang Mitch's background vocals. Wilson Pickett, Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs, the Four Seasons, the Beach Boys, the Union Gap, Jeff Beck, and Eric Clapton, and the Yardbirds as well, Doc and Merle Watson, and yes, even Bob Hope. The early 70s found Bob moving directly into the business side of music, serving as product manager at Ampex Stereo Tapes. Oh my God. I still have boxes of them with recorded music and all kinds of stuff, Ampex, and director of artists and repertoire for Ampex Records. As product manager, one of his duties was to make recommendations about new and up-and-coming artists. Even if they didn't know it, James Taylor and Creedence Clearwater Revival were greatly helped by Bob Hinkle, our very special guest. Key artists on the Ampex label included Todd Rundgren, Jesse Winchester, Speckled Bird, Mason Prophet, bluesman Furry Lewis. Also, he did a live LP for the label. And from 72 to 74, Bob did management consulting for the band around the release and marketing of their double and only live LP, Rock of Ages. In the process, he consulted with Capitol Records and Albert Grossman, who was at that time the manager of Bob Dylan, Janis Joplin, Dr. John, Peter, Paul, and Mary, who I had a wonderful opportunity, I think I told you guys, to not only meet Peter, Paul, and Mary, but to interview them on public television. And Mary, of course, we've lost, but just really, really heart-centric, soulful people. Of course, Peter Butterfield as well, and many, many others that Bob had an opportunity to consult and work with. For the next 15 years, Bob and partner Jeb Hart successfully managed the careers of these leading music forces, including Harry Chapin, Geils Band, Etta James, Manfred Mann, Patti LuPone, you got it, that's right, Tom Chapin, and others. Hinkle and Hart's success led to a partnership with one of the other top management firms in the industry, Cragen & Co. And as partners, the two became significantly involved in the management of these artists: Kenny Rogers, Dottie West, Kim Carnes, and even Gallagher, who's hilarious, and many others. In 90, Bob became founding partner of the Children's Group, a label for kids and families headed by the U.S. operation. The group launched the award-winning Classical Kids audio and video series, including such kids classics as Beethoven Lives Upstairs and Mozart's Magic Fantasy. The label won a Juno for Best Recording and achieved a worldwide distribution agreement with the Bertelsmann Music Group. In 92, Bob founded Zoom Express, which is a family label in co-venture with the Bertelsmann Music Group, a New York-based family-oriented label. Zoom quickly became a leader in the children's family market with such products as the music from, and I know this having my affiliation for many years with PBS and public television, the music from Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Remember that one? Everybody loved that special. A PBS perennial, plus audio and video releases, all platinum sellers from Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. You remember the Olsen Twins, of course, from Full House, right? Direct from their child stardom on ABC Television's long-running hit sitcom, Full House. Zoom Express also served and as a production and marketing arm for Jim Henson Records. Now, of course, you know Jim Henson, creator of The Muppets. Zoom Express grossed over $5 million in its first 20 months of operation. The success led to Bob to the vice presidency of BMG Video and BMG Kids, where his area of responsibility was the acquisition of video projects for the division. Again, following his stint with BMG, Bob formed his own consulting firm in New York, advising a variety of clients, including Hallmark Entertainment. And I know some of you like hearing that because you like my buddy Paul Green, who's a friend of mine. We always see each other at Carnegie Hall, and he's like one of the leading stars right now on the Hallmark Channel. The Smithsonian Institution, the All Music Guide, the Interfaith Cable Coalition, and Infidel Records. After all this, Bob says there are two achievements of which he's most proud. One was co-producing in Brooklyn, New York, the first U.S. public appearance of His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. Do I have to repeat that? Yes, the Dalai Lama, after his exile from Tibet to India. It's an amazing story. We'll talk about that in just a second. The other is enormous pride he takes in his two sons, Ramsey and Olita, and Zach and Carrie, and his two incredible granddaughters, Lucy and Rose. Returning to the mountain roots in 2006, Bob and wife then Kim Hughes opened White Horse Black Mountain in November of 2008. The space has since become more than a music venue. Like the man himself, it has become a true community treasure. And speaking of treasures, we're going to welcome a treasure here exclusively to our show. Tell your friends, tell them to tune in. You're going to hear some great stories. It's going to be an amazing night here exclusively on the show as we welcome the extraordinary Bob Hinkle to the show. Now, he's very humble. He's probably going, oh my God, oh my God. But again, he's really a class act. And we're so happy to have him here. Bob, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Jim. I think after all, I didn't realize I'd done all that. I feel I must be about 400 years old.
That's what everybody says when I do the research and I put together the introductions. So I give the audience a good sense of who the person is. And then that's coupled with the actual conversation. Sometimes the guest says, I forgot about that. Oh, he did that too. Oh, that's me you're talking about, which is pretty cool. Welcome to the show. How are you today, Bob?
I'm excellent. Thank you very much for asking.
Tell us where you are located right now. I see some beautiful horses behind you, which let's take a close-up look. Yeah, that's nice. Where are you right now?
It's a really beautiful little town nestled in the mountains.
Say that again. It was a little blurry when you said it. Where are you?
In Black Mountain, North Carolina.
Yes.
Nestled in the mountains, and it's quite a lovely place.
Really, really nice. Loving it. And how long have you been there? Tell us about being that particular area and how that area really speaks to you, Bob.
Well, I started here. I grew up in West Asheville, as you said. And long story short, went to school in Chapel Hill at UNC, then went to New York for 40 years, and 13 years ago came back. 40 years in New York is a long time. 40 years anywhere is a long time.
It's a long time. Exactly. So let's step back a little bit, because I really would love to know what were some of the things early on for you that sort of sparked your interest in at first in the beginning, wanting to be an entertainer and a performer yourself. The early years being the singer, the songwriter, the composer, the one on stage, the one that's out there in the limelight, of course, then becoming the one that helps those gain the limelight and gain, that wonderful track to success and to satisfaction. But for you, is that something you were surrounded with early on in your life with family and others? Or was it something where people noticed this when you were a kid early on, Bob, in your life?
Well, I'll give you a funny story. I think I was about 4, and my father took me to see, and to the City Auditorium here in Asheville, to see Gene Autry, if you remember Gene Autry, the cowboy. And Gene's horse was named Champion. It's a rather large kind of horse. At the end of the show, I was very excited about it. And my dad said, gee, you want to go back to the stage entrance and see if Gene and Champion are going to come out? And they did. Gene walked on by and just sort of waved. Champion was right behind him. And I think my entrance into show business happened because Champion stepped on my foot. So, you got to start somewhere.
That's it, right? If you're going to start, you're going to start from there. Boy,
Yeah.
we have a ton of people all around the country and around the world just saying hello to you, and we really appreciate that. And I just want to show you hello, everyone. What a lovely afternoon. Danilo is in San Diego. Linda's in Florida. Paul Green calls the heart at last. Of course, we know. What an amazing list of accomplishments. I bet this is not everything he's done. No, that was the short list, folks. People always miss things. Yes, I could have done an hour show just on his bio. Hi, Bob from Ernestine in North Carolina. Merlin in Canada says, welcome, Bob. Danilo San Diego says, welcome. Kathleen in New York says, welcome. Willie in Holland, who goes to bed and takes naps in the daytime just so she doesn't miss our show at 1 a.m. her time in the Netherlands, says hello. Linda says hello. Linda loves the hat I've got on. And very pretty. They love the picture behind you of the horses. So a lot of love coming your way already, Bob.
I feel it.
Yeah. It's that kind of vibe we like to create here on the show and then share it with everybody. Lovity, as we call it. So the pursuits early on, the desire to perform. When you started doing that, did you start in like school plays, or how did it actually start for you?
I spent Sunday afternoons in a big green rocking chair, sitting beside the table radio, listening to a music show called Sweet Corn Serenade here on a local radio station, and I was taken. This is what I wanted to do, so I got a ukulele, and then I got a big ukulele, and then I got a guitar, and I formed a band. I think I was in the 5th grade, and we actually played a couple of gigs, and we were terrible, but we played them anyway. And I fast forward to high school, I was in a band called the Royal Roulettes, and I think it was Western North Carolina's first racially integrated band. And everybody thought we were making a big statement, and I guess we were making a little statement, but mainly what we were doing was playing white gigs from 9 to 12 and black gigs from 2 to 5 or 1 to 4, and making actually a fair amount of money for high school kids. And by then I was totally smitten, and immediately after that got all involved in the folk craze, or the folk disease, or whatever you want to call it. Started a group at the same time as the other one, called the Highlanders, and we would rent the pavilion at the local recreation park and put on our own shows. And we actually did okay. We did fairly well. So by then I was thoroughly bit and knew what I wanted to do. Just was a question of when and how. And the pace just got picked up at the University of North Carolina, where I met the two guys who eventually became my partners in The Good Earth. One of whom went on to become Oliver, if you remember Good Morning Starshine, and Jean, from the Prime of Miss Jean Brodie.
Oh yeah. So
we were at it for a while. I can honestly say that in that time period, I played in each of the contiguous 48 states at least once. It was made no money. I was poor as a church mouse, but I was having a great time.
I love that expression. Have not heard that in years. Poor as a church mouse. I love that. I love old school stuff like that. Yeah, but you know what it is? Resilience, tenacity. And so many people I've had an opportunity to work with myself, or just even chat with. There's something burning and yearning inside you that even though you might have been at that time as poor as a church mouse, there was something that was beyond even the monetary gain that was thrusting you forward and inspired, maybe something from an energy source coming through you. You were sort of like a facilitator or a conduit of this energy that you had to perform, you had to communicate, you had to connect with people, right?
Right. I can honestly say that the one of the things that moved me right very early on was the music that sort of lives in these wonderful mountains. It's sort of a bluegrass music and old time music. There's a joy about it that's contagious.
Yeah.
It will not be suppressed no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm I'm still moved by that every time. And I was moved by it then. It's one of the reasons that I kept on keeping on.
Let's talk about that. How has growing up in that area of Western North Carolina influenced you? What is it about the neighborly feel and just I mean, it's a beautiful area. And again, I know people personally from that area and they love it. They've never left or they've left, worked in television in DC and New York and LA, but they go back home there to the Asheville area. What is it about that area that really speaks to people and specifically to you?
Okay, I think that a couple of things to say about that. One is that, as I was just saying just a minute ago, the music that's there, sort of innately there, that lives there, that has lived there for hundreds of years, and come from all different parts of the world to become a music melting pot, sort of headed by the Irish and the African, and it's the only place in the world where this particular thing exists. And the other piece of it is I am very fond of the people who live here. In this little town of Black Mountain, when somebody says, "How you doing?" they really want to know. And they'll stop and listen to you if you tell them, as long as you don't take too long. And it's freeing. You don't have to worry too much about whether you're saying the right thing or what anybody's going to think. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's nice. And so, leaving the town, the comforts and serenity of the beautiful area and getting involved in the big leagues. I mean, you've worked with some of the greats and you've really had an opportunity to mold and shape and influence people in so many different ways. Take us from the University of North Carolina. What were some of those early opportunities that you had that took the degree and took the experience and propelled you? You were set on this trajectory of movement that was very forward with what you wanted to do. Tell us about how that all worked for you, Bob.
Okay. My college career at the University of North Carolina was largely determined by trying to find all the professors who would not be too disturbed if I was absent a lot, just because we were on the road. We were out
performing.
We got a record deal in New York, spent a lot of time, all the summers and stuff in New York. Just had some wonderful moments. We played in a sort of a harbinger of the future. We played one night at the bitter end, opening for the old bitter end, opening for Kenny Rogers in the first edition. Who knew that later on down the line we'd be working together? We played at what used to be Philharmonic Hall, up at Lincoln Center with Doc and Merle Watson, which was, I mean, especially if you're around here, playing with Doc Watson is like playing with God.
Yeah.
We did a lot of appearances on package tours. A lot of those names you read were names that we appeared with on those package tours. I loved Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs. I loved to hear him introduce their big hit, the Woolly Bully. And he would always say, "And now it's a song. It's really pretty big out in the Fiji Islands." And they would do the Woolly Bully. So, I mean, the thing is, once you're bitten with this bug, you don't get unbit. You may do different things, but you never you never go that far away from the happenings of this business. And I think I definitely felt that. I definitely went that way. We did a tour of the coffee houses of Canada. I think this was the summer of, I think maybe 65. Shows you how old I am. And it was a summer that was like this, hot. It's hot as hell.
Yeah.
And out there in the plains of Canada, it gets just about as hot there as it does here.
Yeah, it does.
So we went about 3 or 4 coffee houses where the owners would actually turn up the heat, even, given that it was hot outside, they turned up the heat so they could sell ice cream because they were coffee houses. And they did. They sold a hell of a lot of ice cream.
Ice cream, yeah.
Not something that I took to heart, but,
no.
but I ate a lot of ice cream.
Yeah.
It's experiences like that where you're sort of, you're kind of on your own. You're in an area where you don't know anybody and nobody knows you, but you've got this opportunity to go on a stage and get to know people who are sitting in front of you as an audience. And yeah, there's really no substitute for that. There's nothing that quite duplicates that anywhere that I know of.
Somebody, Merlin, you mentioned Canada. She's in Innerkip, Ontario. Jumping ahead just a little bit, she says, white horses have a special meaning for you?
Well, for me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, in a way they do, because the name of the operation here that I run is White Horse Black Mountain. And the story of how it got that name is interesting. About 13 years ago, my then wife, Kimberly, came down the stairs of our house and said, "What's a white horse, Black Mountain?" I said, "I don't know. We'll keep our eyes open and see if we see one." About 2-3 weeks later, I was in the office of the guy at the Chamber of Commerce. He asked around and figured out that I was a music guy. He said, after the meeting, he said, "Follow me." So we came over into the place that is now White Horse Black Mountain, which was then a big mess, not doing anything constructive. We walked in and we looked around and kept asking each other, "So you think this is it? You think this is it?" We walked over to the big garage door because it was a former Chevrolet dealership.
Yeah, right.
And on the wall of the big garage door was a poster of 6 white horses running across a meadow. So some things in life should not be ignored.
Yes,
and
it's a sign, message.
Yeah, right. So it took us 7 months to get open, and opened in the jaws of the recession, and we've been open ever since.
That's amazing. So just stepping back a little bit further, some of what would you consider for you? I mean, you're talking about early on the access to extraordinary people, and these are people that you were opening for, people that you were working with. We had legendary comedian Tom Dreesen on. Tom, 500 appearances on television, 61 times on The Tonight Show, everything. And he toured for about 13, 14 years with Frank Sinatra, and he opened for Sinatra. And what was really funny, again, being a comedian and his quick wit, he said, "Actually, Jim, I didn't open for Sinatra. Sinatra closed for me."
He got a good manager, taught him to say that.
That's you have had access early on to, you were thrust right into the fire there with some extraordinary people. So when did you decide to sort of morph from the performance side of things? Because you could have just stuck with that and probably made a brilliant career as a singer-songwriter continually and just solely focus on that. But there was something, I think you must have been observing early on, some of the business side, some of the nuances, the networking, the marketing, the branding, the promotion. Tell us about how that ended up transitioning for you early.
Well, I mean, the very short way to say it is I turned 30 and I wasn't a star yet. So I thought to myself, and I had a kid and loved him to death.
Yeah.
And so I thought, and then let me see what I can figure out to do that I can sort of stay around the business, but not be lumbered with the schedules and the travel and all that. And I looked around and watched what people were doing and decided that being a personal manager was the right thing to do for me. And literally I knew him before, but met with the intent of doing this with my friend Jeb Hart. And we were fortunate because Jeb had great connections with Harry Chapin. In fact, Jeb is Harry's half brother. And so Harry and Tom was first, became our first clients. And Harry blossomed, he did very well, and Tom was blossomed as well behind him. And we began to get a little bit of a reputation and moved into, making a long story short, the next big thing that we did was get a hold of the Geils Band. The Geils Band was, at that point, a band that had been together for 10 years.
Now, when you say get a hold of them, was it just a matter of picking up the bat phone and, "Hey, this is Bob Hinkle, let's talk"? How did that work?
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's a business of being in the right place at the right time, and also knowing who to call on the other end of the phone. So we got sort of turned on to the Geils Band by their record label, EMI America. And they were thinking that the Geils Band was about to pop. They were about to become a huge act, which they hadn't quite done yet. And they wanted to be sure, I think, that the band was in hands with people that would do right with the band and do right as possible by the record company as well, which is kind of the classical conflict of a personal manager. And so we sat down with the guys in the band for however long it took. It was some sessions, and we eventually decided to join forces and help them the best we could. And something worked, because the next release was Freeze Frame, which was a multi-platinum record. And there was a huge tour around Freeze Frame, part of which was opening for the Rolling Stones in the west coast of the U.S. and all across Europe. And that was something. I mean, that was a once in a lifetime experience for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, so getting involved, would you consider, in terms of the, so were you managing the Geils Band? Would you consider that you were the managers of,
yes,
of them? So that would be considered a good size break, right? To have to bring them in. You obviously have a keen, Harry Chapin, some of these names, you also have this keen sense and sensibility to recognize good, solid talent.
Well, I was lucky enough to where there was so much luck that I think maybe you're at least partially right.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, Geils, you got them. Tell us about some of the others. And once you get, a few, then others want to work with you because you build a reputation, quality, taking care of people, doing the right thing, getting them the things they need, propelling them, supporting them, encouraging them. Tell us about, you're also like a psychologist and like a therapist as much as you are a manager, and making sure everything is booked and done and the car's there and all those things, and they get the press they need. You're like a psychologist and a manager in a way too, right?
Forget the babysitter part.
Yeah, shoot right to that. Yeah, all of that, exactly. So after Geils came in, who was next to join the fold?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll give you one. This is kind of answering your question, but not exactly.
Yeah.
I'll give you one story from the Stones tour. The Geils Band and the Stones knew each other pretty well. They were pretty good friends, and so we would try to find the Stones after the show and to hang out, do stuff. Never could find them for the first little while. Then finally, somebody realized that the Stones had rented a 737. They were flying back and forth to London. They fly to London after the show. Next morning, fly to the next show. So we thought, all right, well, let's see if we can thumb a ride.
Right.
Which we did for a few times, and we ended up staying in this hotel in London. And at that point, Keith and Mick were trying to sort of make up ground that they'd lost with each other over the last previous period of time. And Keith found out that Mick and Jerry Hall, who he was with at the time, were having some sort of an anniversary, and we're having a dinner at a very fancy French restaurant in London. So Keith got 5 or 6 of us. It was Ronnie Woods was one, Pete Wolf of the Geils Band was another, and Seth Justman of the Geils Band was another. And we decided to form a doo-wop group and visit the restaurant where Mick and Jerry were having their big dinner, and go in and sing them something. So we rehearsed for about a week in Keith's bathroom, which had great, acoustics.
Yeah, right.
In that hotel, the Carlton Towers, that was the name of the hotel. So the night of the dinner, we went over to the restaurant, and we marched into the restaurant, and Keith doffed his hat and bowed low, and we sang the one song that we managed to learn, which was Sea of Love, and then turned around and walked out of the restaurant. So that was the beginning and the end of my doo-wop career.
Yeah.
But it was a wonderful kind of
experience.
That tour was like that. There were a lot of interesting bits and pieces of that tour. Let's see, who else would we like to talk about? Well, Manfred Mann was I really love Manfred Mann. He's a wonderful guy. The only thing about him that used to drive me nuts was he's such a perfectionist that he the time that I managed him, he was on Arista Records, and he was late turning the record in. They were about to miss the release date, and that was the one of the very few meetings that I had with Clive Davis in my career. And Clive basically was, in no uncertain terms, saying, "Go to London, get the album away from this guy." So I did, and it took me about 2-3 hours of talking to him in his home studio in his house. Finally got the LP, the master tape, and was about walking out the front door of the house, and he came running out of the house because he said, "No, I can't. You can't have it yet. I got to do this and that." And he said, "Manfred, I'm taking this tape. I'm taking it to Clive. If you need to do anything else, go do it. You can send them an addendum if you want to, but this has got to go back." So.
That's incredible. Could I ask you, and sometimes I ask people this, when some of these things happen, when you were working with these folks and having access to them and them to you, were you pinching yourself at all, saying, "This is amazing. This is incredible"?
Once in a while. I mean, on the Stones tour, I pinch myself a lot.
Yeah.
But it's being a personal manager is, you're watching so many aspects of a career if you're doing it right. And they interact in so many different ways that you don't have time to do much thinking. You basically got to, keep the balls in the air.
Now, was there any sense as you were becoming more and more of the consultant, the business side of things, the manager for these acts and for these groups, were you missing the performance as well on your side? Did you continue to do that on the side to fulfill that need to do that?
That's part of being well bit. Once you're bit, you're bit. One interesting tidbit is that Pete Wolf, the lead singer of the Geils Band, I found out was a country music fan, which I didn't know. And he found out that I played guitar and knew something about that. So we got together and played and just messed around. And on the last leg of the Freeze Frame tour, we formed a country music duo. And the Geils Band was playing at Pine Knob, which is a big outdoor venue in Detroit. And so we became the Northfield Brothers because we were staying in the Northfield Hilton at the time. And we literally opened for the Geils Band. And got a fair amount of applause, oddly enough. And even today, even now, I still play here every once in a while, and out and around every once in a while. But now, they used to pay me, and now it's more like therapy. But it's therapy that I like, so I'll keep doing it.
Absolutely. So then, as the names were being circulated within the existing record industry and the industry of entertainment and the concert venues, and because there's all these relationships you have to forge, not just with other peers in the record industry. There's the TV networks, the radio stations, the venues themselves, the concert venues, the stage performance halls that want to make sure a certain amount of tickets are sold so they make a profit. There's all these different variables that most people don't think about when they listen to their favorite performer on the radio or record or CD or Spotify, or go pay $60 for a ticket and enjoy all of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes to make that happen.
You haven't been to a concert in a while. $60 would be like.
I know. I was undercutting it. Yeah, that was that's it. Yeah, that's just for the rum and Coke or the popcorn at a movie theater. So then, tell us about some of the others. I mean, there's a couple of names. Somebody mentioned Janis Joplin and some of these others. The exposure to Janis and some of these others?
I didn't have any exposure to Janis. That list was in reference to Albert Grossman, who was also a personal manager. And who sort of took me under his wing for a couple of years there. And I was involved very heavily in the management of the band. And during the time period when they were releasing their live album, their double live album, which was called Rock of Ages. And it was another one of those wonderful situations where I was hired by Albert, had to be approved by the band. It was paid by Capitol Records. So it's one of those, okay, who do I answer to now kind of situations. And I had to literally have a meeting with each one of the members of the band so that before I could be hired, they had to sign off on me, essentially, which thank goodness they did. And, as a business, what I had to do is go to the big round building in Los Angeles, the Capitol Records building, and find somebody there who had something to win and nothing to lose by jumping in with me and seeing if we couldn't get Robbie Robertson to mix the record more quickly or not remix it again, and see if we couldn't get Capitol Records to be a little more patient than they were being. And I found the right executive, and we solved it. We calmed the waters just a bit. I felt like cannon fodder at times, but it did work. And the record came out, and it was a platinum record, and it had the only top 10 live single they've ever had on it. So I felt good about it. I was supposed to then move to Woodstock and continue to work for Albert. I started looking around in Woodstock and realized, as a business thing in Woodstock, you were in wonderful shape as long as you were in good stead with Albert. But if you ever got on the wrong side of Albert, you might as well plant potatoes, because that's what you'd be doing there. So I decided to stay in the city. Who knows what would have happened if I'd gone the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You made the right choices and gut instinct and just followed your heart. So then again, this just continued to blossom and propel, and tell us about, where it went from there, because you are one of those people who, I don't know if you have an autobiography, memoir, or anything in the works, but you've worn just about every hat you can think of. So you have a full, rich understanding of all the nuances of the business. You've dabbled in television and film as much as you have with music as well. Tell us, how things just continue to progress from there, Bob.
Well, everybody who has a broad kind of view of this always starts somewhere. It all emanates from someplace.
Right.
And with me, it emanated from the music end of things, because once you're represented as a manager, once you're representing people of enough stature to where there's a lot to do, then you find yourself administering recording contracts, and then publishing contracts, and then somebody wants to license a song for a film or a television show, and then, if you're involved with somebody like Kenny Rogers, then they want to do gambler movies, and so it goes on and on and on. There's merchandising. God, that's a whole nother world. It's interesting. As I am fond of saying, I was not always happy, but I was never bored, not for a second. Still not, actually. Running a music venue is actually the most labor-intensive thing I've ever done, but it's also an awful lot of fun.
Jay Geils, Stones, just about every band played the blues. Bob, for your band, did you like playing the blues?
Oh yeah, sure. Of course, I love the blues. That's another thread that runs all the way through all my endeavors.
Linda asks, who are some of the folks that you're still close to now?
Well, the funny thing about being a manager is that everything is entirely groovy, as they used to say, up until something goes wrong, which it almost always does. Then you find yourself the first one over the artist's shoulder, who almost by definition is going to get the blame for whatever it is.
Yeah.
Artists are not fond of blaming themselves for stuff.
Right.
So I haven't spoken to anybody in the Geils Band for a while. I mean, there are only several of them left at this point where they're passing on. But when I have, it's been fun and good, and I've enjoyed it. Harry Chapin was killed in a car crash.
I know. Long Island Expressway. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you lose people as you go along.
Yeah.
David. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say David William Smith had asked. He wonders if you knew Al Hamm at Columbia Records, because he worked with Al for 3 years in Bridgeport, Connecticut. David worked for iHeartRadio, Public Television, PBS, as well as ESPN. He's a close friend. But any connection with Al Hamm?
Just met him, just an acquaintance.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Merlin is, we didn't plan for that, Merlin. Maybe when he comes back on the next time, right?
I'll tell you what I'll do for you. I will, we're doing a live stream series here. This is the only thing happening, so we got to do something.
Welcome to the new world, right?
So, and I think we're going to keep on doing it even after we can go back to live music. So there's a little theme song that is a theme song for the series. And it's just voice and ham bone. Ham bone is when you're slapping your
Oh,
knee.
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
The picture, but you'll hear it anyway.
Yeah.
Here's a little theme song. When the song rises up, white horses will fill the mountain. When song rises up, and the clouds roll away. If you don't believe that music has the power to stay right here with us for just about an hour, we're gonna let you help you. We're gonna lift you up. We're gonna loosen up your tightening. We're gonna fill your cup. When the song rises up, white horses will fill the mountains. When song rises up, then the clouds roll away. And the clouds roll away. What's gonna happen in the clouds? Then the clouds gonna roll away.
Merlin, are you happy in Inner Kip, Ontario, Canada? On cue, on the spot, not rehearsed. This is a professional you're dealing with. That's fantastic. That is cool.
Thanks.
Thanks for doing that. I appreciate that. I'm sure everybody's very, very happy now too. They wanted you to do something like that. And again, some of the people that you've had an opportunity to work with are extraordinary people, but you as well, to have what are some of the things that you've learned along the way? Because again, you started as the performer, you started as the singer, the songwriter, and there's a different lens when you're going in that direction. And then you see the business side, and you see, you see the wires on the floor, and you see the bills that come in, and the heartache and the headache and all the different aspects. Tell us some of the things that really surprised you, positive or negative, about the industry and about the whole ball of wax, Bob.
Well, I don't know if you've got 3 years to answer the question, but that's about how long it would take. I will tell you that the one thing, talking about limbs, something that I learned, it took me a while. I had to get stripes on my back, but for a while there before I figured it out. Well, one of the things that I learned as a person in the business is that you got to let a lot of stuff roll right off your back. You can't bite in too hard. You can't, jump down people's throat unless they really require it. You've got to be a human. You've got to be a human being. You got to be able to look at yourself in the mirror in the morning and say, I know that guy, he's okay. And if you kind of can apply that in as positive a way as you can to the relationships that you have, you'll certainly hit a lot more than you'll miss. You'll miss some. My then partner and I sat with most of the members of KISS for about 3 hours one afternoon, trying to figure out whether they wanted us to manage them or whether we wanted to, And
what was that like?
Interesting. They had their hiatus and they were going to go back on the road, and the big question was, should we wear the makeup?
Yes.
Or not?
Right.
And both my partner and I said, basically said, what are you, nuts? Of course you're going to wear the makeup. That's your thing. And I think that they were not, there wasn't enough communication between them to actually come to a decision one way or the other, at least not that day.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually they did use the makeup. The other interesting thing was we got a call one day from a lawyer who's a friend of ours who asked us if we were interested in managing the estate of Bob Marley.
Oh, wow.
Which would have been, and our first inclination was absolutely, what do we do now?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then we started thinking about it, and we came up with, from just looking at what was going on there, came up with the fact that there were too many parties there. There were too many people involved in too many aspects of it.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
It's the, probably the original herding cats thing. and those people played for keeps too. They didn't
Yes.
so we didn't do it. Long story short,
Mm-hmm.
that's another one of those couple of things where you wonder what would have happened if you'd done it. But I think that if when you look around the business and even now it's changed a lot. Now it's a whole different world now.
How? I mean, I know, but for the audience edification, what are some of those things that have really, I mean, I know it's very commercialized, it's one-hit wonders. Now we have all these competition shows, we got to go on TV and everybody has to love you immediately, and that breeds a lot of failure. What are some of the other things that have caused this change? And what are those changes that we might not even realize ourselves, Bob?
Well, a lot of it is the economics of the business has changed radically. Why? Largely because of downloading and live and streaming and of music and things which take away a lot of the income that was being earned in, say, up to like the late 80s or so.
Yeah.
For instance, I won't get too technical, but you used to, as a songwriter, you used to earn, have several different ways to earn music on a song that you authored.
Yes.
And those are all shrinking. They've shrunk. Your mechanical royalty, which is what you used to make from selling a record, it's now morphed largely into a live streaming royalty.
And touring, right? You have to tour.
But wait, and even though on a record you used to be able to make like 4 cents a song on a record for that songwriter. Now it's like 1/100th of a cent, and that may be overstating it.
Mm-hmm.
So people are hurting in terms of being able to actually earn a living, to keep going, to make sense out of what the business is about. It's very hard to do. There used to be a big middle class of artists who were actually playing out dates, and they were earning a living in there, even if it was just in an area where there was a middle class. Well, the middle class is by and large gone.
Yeah.
There's a very thin layer of people up on top who are making all the money. Then there's what I call the great unwashed, down below an empty space, which is where the middle class used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So there are just too many ways to have it not work, and very few ways to have it work. At this point, it's a tough time in the business. People love music. People love music. They still want it.
Yeah.
But
it's happened in so many aspects too of entertainment and media consumption. Television, talk to a guy that's trying to sell spots on an AM radio station somewhere, or the guy that's still writing for a local newspaper. Television, just because of the advent of 9 million channels and streaming and so much more. Any of us that are in this industry, as we are, you can see some of those things. And I guess the key, even though you might be a traditionalist and you love the way things have always been and you're old school and you really just enjoy all of the grandiosity maybe of the way things have been, a lot of pivoting, a lot of reinventing, a lot of sort of, incorporating new things, whether you want to or not, has to happen, right?
And it's not all negative.
Right.
There's, for instance, if you'd asked me in 1980, what about Celtic music? I'd have said, what do you mean? What about Celtic music? You got the Chieftains and Tommy Makem, and that's it. And now, because the way the business had sort of folded in on itself, it's opened up space for some of those subgenres like Celtic music. So now there's Celtic radio stations and Celtic clubs, Celtic festivals, whatever.
Celtic Woman, Celtic Thunder, yeah.
So that is very few people have managed to use that model to become very successful. But by and large, it's tough. You got to be more than a musician. You got to be a musician and wear 5 other hats at the same time.
Well, even in the work that I do, as a traditional broadcaster, trained and educated in television and radio and newspaper and stage and some of the traditional forms of broadcasting, over-the-air broadcasting, if you don't pivot and you don't, I wouldn't have created something like this show 11 weeks ago on the internet. I would have still said, broadcasting is it, which I still love. It's always in my heart. Like what's in your heart as well.
Yeah.
Television stations, radio stations, the whole excitement and the whole, that whole thing, and then all the people that paved the way. And I'm always somebody, and I think it's very important. That's one thing that I think is missing a little bit from society in a lot of different areas, is stopping, pausing, breathing, and paying homage and tipping your hat to all of those who took bricks and laid them for the ability for you to do what you do now. Yes, you have to work hard. You had to do everything you had to do. But if all of these other people didn't step up and work all those hours and plug this wire into that wire and do all the different things they had to do under really extreme conditions many times, none of us would really be here having opportunities to do what we do. And I've always been very cognizant, very respectful, and I've always paid homage to those and admired actually and revered those, and still do, who came before. And we're living in a time right now where I think our society, and hopefully this old reset we're going through right now will change some of that, where it's like if somebody did something 10 minutes ago, they're passé. Now, what they did 10 minutes ago might have been extraordinary, might have been incredible, touched by God, whatever it is. But if it isn't now, the second, instant gratification, it's written off, written off, written off.
And
I've never been that way. I've always been like, hey, listen, why don't we just pause and relish in what we just did and saw, and then move on to the next thing. You know what I mean? And
there's another sort of corollary to what you were saying, which is that that sort of give me my next record, give me my next thing, let's keep it moving. I need my 15 minutes of fame. What it also does is stimulates a lot of stuff in the marketplace that isn't very good. There's a lot of stuff there that's just not up to par, not up to snuff. And yet it's getting, because of the speed of the way things are, and because of the approach to the marketplace that's around now, a lot of the stuff that should be recognized is not, and a lot that really maybe is not as worthy is being recognized. So that's just,
Well, you must be an intuitive, because look what your new friend Merlin in Canada, who you just did that wonderful performance for, says, and she doesn't need to apologize, because in many ways she's correct. She goes, I'm sorry to say, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of non-talented people out there that she can't stand. It's an interesting situation, because I know that, if you bring out an old record and you listen to a full orchestra and you hear the triangle and you hear the the violas and the violins and the guitars and the everything, there's all of it, the xylophone, whatever it is, you hear it all, as opposed to just something that goes. It's a little bit different if you're looking for the analog sound, the warmth, the whole, that whole thing of musicians playing off each other, whether it's jazz or classical or anything, whatever it may be, just having that ability. One thing that I think is cool, Bob, is some people that are testing the waters and going back and listening to music from previous decades, who have these sensibilities to be able to do that. They're whipping out their parents' or grandparents' LPs. They're putting them on a turntable. I still have the turntables, cassette decks. I have all that stuff. Stacks of records, sealed, all that. I'm a huge music buff, music collector. So they are saying, wow, this stuff existed before. Real instruments, this warmth, this rhythm, this beat, this sound, whatever kind of genre they may like. It could be anything, something from the 60s, 50s, 70s, 40s, 80s, whatever. And they're liking it. And that is a cool thing when they start to fall in love with stuff that a lot of people just, grew up with, and it's part of their vernacular. But for maybe somebody a little bit younger, they're like, oh my God, I want more of this. I'm craving more of this. And it's all about exposure, isn't it? Being introduced to things that sometimes, in the very limited window we're living in right now, people aren't always introduced to. But with those who stray off and say, you know what, I want to check this thing out, or I want to check this thing out, like we used to do when we would spend a Saturday thumbing through all the albums at a Tower Records or something.
Right.
Let me listen to this, let me listen to that. And you're straying off and garnering a knowledge and appreciation for a lot of different stuff. There's a lot of people that are sort of under the current doing that, right?
Yep, and a lot of them are young people. We're now, I think, in our third generation of the Beatles fans. You know, my sons, who are now adults, went Beatles nuts for like 2 years in their growing up time, and their daughters have done the same thing. You know, great music, whatever genre it's in, is great music. You know, it's like my old friend, the record promoter, used to say, "A hit is a hit. You know, no matter what else happens, a hit is a hit." And I think, well, I've got one for you. It's just a little sidelight. I have this idea that I want to do something to help create a genre called hip hopera. Now think about it. What is hip hop? It's a lot of rhythm. Nothing wrong with that. They're all stories, whether you like the stories or not, or the language or not. They're stories. They're big, broad stories, and you know, people die in them. They have crises all over the place. And what's opera? It's all of that as well. So I'm looking to find a way. You know, I'm looking to find a way to put together hip hop and opera into hip opera.
What a really cool and unique, and again, that just seals the deal as far as how your mind works. You're always looking for ways to innovate and create and come up with ways to take this and sort of bring it together and create something new from some of the things that already exist that turn into something new for all of us to sample. And that's a cool thing. I think that just solidifies why you're so successful in these various forms within the industries, because you have this third eye way of thinking about things. That's very cool. So is that something that you're actually really considering?
I keep just pecking at it a little here and there. Haven't really done anything big yet. I mean, it's anybody else who wants to do it, they should go ahead and do it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'm not too worried about it because it's going to be a real bugger to do. So
right. Yeah,
some time and some effort and all the right people. So
mm-hmm.
I think it's a winner.
Backbone of music was there of the Stones, Beatles, Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Joplin. I could go on. Some of the bands today don't have the same heart and soul as the bands I mentioned. Thanks to Jim, he's expanded my knowledge about theater and so much more. Yeah, now you've had involvement with film and television as well. Tell us about how things expanded into those worlds as well, Bob.
Well, and theater. When you manage Patti LuPone, you're going to be in the theater.
I mean, what a range! Jay Geils and Kenny Rogers and Patti LuPone. How did that happen?
It's one of those, you know, good timing, good luck. On the other end of the phone thing.
That's the way it works.
And somebody put us together, and we liked her. She liked us. It took us about 1.5 years to realize that at least at that point in her life, Patti really didn't want management. She wanted somebody who would make the world go the way she wanted it to.
Yeah.
As opposed to what maybe should happen in terms of her career. But I'm fond of her. I think she's an extraordinarily talented person, obviously. And I'm very, very glad I had the experience. Film and television. I have optioned things for film and theater. My involvement with television has been as an artist and as a manager and as an executive producer of God knows how many music videos and other stuff like that. And the the thing about film is that everybody, I don't know if it's still true, it might not be, but I bet it is. Everybody that's in the music end of this business wants to be in the movies as a business person.
Sure.
They all want to go be,
movie stars.
Or movie moguls.
Yes.
And I have felt that pull, but no one's been pulling me through the other end. So I'll let it lie as long as it needs to. but it's something that one would like to do. Yes.
Rebecca says, sign me up to sing that hip opera. Mm-hmm. There you go. She's watching on the Jim Masters TV channel on YouTube. Good to see you, Rebecca. Welcome to the show. Good to have you with us. We're here every night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on the Jim Masters Show Live. Love that idea of hip hop opera, maybe a twist with Michael Oldfield.
I should tell you that Rebecca, who was just on the screen there,
Yeah.
is the fearless leader of a company called Rad House Studios, and we're working with them. They do the production on our live streams, and we're in the process of constructing here at Whitehorse literally a control room, so we can not only do the live streams easier, but to expand our horizons into some other video projects. So that's another way of trying to reach out across the big divide and see if we can't do something.
Yeah.
She's great. Rebecca's great.
Yeah, the global community that we're in right now. Really enjoying this interview. Well done again. Thank you very much. We appreciate that, Crystal Ray. So let's talk about Whitehorse, where you are. Tell us about how all of this developed, this venue and what it is and what you offer, and this dream of being able to put something like this together. I mean, I would have to say you're a one-stop shop, from being the performer to the manager to the business guy to the booker to all these things, and now the venue as well. I mean, you've had your hands in like a full circle understanding. If somebody was a young talent, and I'm sure you mentor and deal with a lot of those who want to become performers and they want to become singers and musicians and whatever, actors, could be anything. You can really sit down with them and guide them in so many extraordinary ways, because you've been there. You've seen not just the glamour and glitz of being the performer or the blood, sweat, and tears of being the performer, but you've seen all the other aspects of the business, the network, the branding, the performance part, as well as now having venues of your own. Tell us about all of that.
Boy, it's another 2-year question.
Yeah, I know, huh?
Well,
I go deep.
You did, and quick too. The Whitehorse, when I moved here, my then wife and I moved here, we had no idea that this is what we're going to do. We didn't really know what we wanted to do. We just knew that I'd been in New York for 40 years and I wanted to do something else. So, long story short, we ended up moving back here, found this building, this place. It's a former Chevrolet dealership with big, huge ceilings about 30 feet high. And it looked like a television studio waiting to happen to me. But it's also a wonderful music venue. So I decided, after all said and done, to do the only thing I really hadn't done yet, which was to run a music venue, which, you have to be about half crazy and about, half smart. I'm not sure which one of those has the balance at this point, but we're still here. I do, in fact, still talk to young performers and others who are interested in whatever it is that I can help them. Can't help everybody, but there are some that I can, and I'm always happy to do it. It's giving back. It's one of those things that you like to do. And in terms of Whitehorse, yes, we wanted to have the best music we could lay our hands on to be here, and we wanted to have the best place that we could have. But every bit as important as that to us was the question, not the question, but the thought that what we really wanted to be was an integral part of our community that we're in. Western North Carolina, really, the Western North Carolina music community and entertainment community. And we've sort of been doing that. And, we've gotten good response over a long haul now. You can't do this for 12 years and not have somebody like it and stay in business. So it feels good to me. It feels like it needs to go on for a while.
Tell us about the history of the actual physical property where you've sort of planted yourself and where you've expanded and created this wonderful venue for everybody. What's the history of the actual property itself?
The place was built in 1945 as a Jeep Willis dealership. Wow. And Willis went the way of all flesh. And and it became for many, many years a Chevrolet dealership.
Mm-hmm.
And when we came into the building to do Whitehorse, it was still owned by the family that had the Chevy dealership. So,
See the USA in a Chevrolet.
yeah, exactly.
Down the shore.
Or at least Buncombe County, anyway.
Yeah.
So it took us, I think I said earlier, it took us 7 months,
Yeah.
to put it together and open our doors. We did so in November of 2008, which was the heart of the last terrible recession.
Yeah.
Somehow managed to hang in there, all it was touch and go for a while. And as I say, that was 11 and a half years ago, and it's still the old building is still holding up. It's still, we did some things unusually. We had the bartender build a bar, because who knows better than what shape the bar should be, and then the bartender.
And the bartender.
Especially if they happen to be good draftspeople as well.
Right, exactly. And psychologist.
Right.
Yeah.
And we built a corral out in front of the place, so that just to keep the image of the Whitehorse going, and that's where people go to smoke, and it's where they can sit outside and still listen to music. And as I said, we're going to have our control booth up here very shortly. We seat 216. After COVID, we'll seat 216. Right now, it's probably more like 100 once we can seat anybody. They tell me we have the cleanest bathrooms in town, although I don't spend much time in the women's room, so I can't
verify that.
Yeah. And people come from, and especially in the tourist season, which we're kind of beginning to get into now, people come from all over the world to be here.
Mm-hmm.
It has been a thing that I, for a number of reasons, decided I was not going to do a big money to advertising, public relations, promotion push when we opened, that I wanted to try and let it grow a little bit organically.
Yeah.
Just let people, insofar as I could before I went broke, let people discover it. And they have. It's taken them a long time. We still get somebody every once in a while who'll come in and say, I've been driving by this place for 15 years, and I never figured out what it was, and now I know.
It's kind of like passing south of the border on the North Carolina-South Carolina line.
Exactly.
20 years driving by, one time you're going to go get a snack or something. Oh, so that's what this thing is.
or a snack or fireworks you can get.
Right. Every time I've gone, I always see cars there, but I never see people. I never see any people. I just see cars. It's like a Twilight Zone episode.
Well, offer to buy one of them, and then you'll see what happens.
Somebody comes running out out of the car. That's funny. So how do you describe, I want to give people, and we have some photos we're going to show. Before we do that, how do you describe what the venue actually is? What's the flavor, the vibe, the feeling? I mean, I know that aesthetically, where you're located, it's beautiful. So you have the actual outdoor natural feeling, and you've kept true to that, which is really important. That enhances the whole experience.
Yeah.
How do you describe what this whole vibe is like there?
I would, the easy way to answer that is, if when you come there and participate, you feel a little bit like you're home.
Yeah. Then
we've done what we want to do. It's supposed to be informal. It's supposed to be comfortable. It is, however, a listening room. It's not a talkie bar.
Right.
It's a place where people come there to hear what's on stage and interact with the artist. But aside from that, it's totally. Every once in a while, I get a call that I laugh at who asks me if there's a dress code for Whitehorse, and I always say, yeah, you got to wear something.
Right. At least wear socks. That's it. Willie is in Holland. She's the dedicated 2:25 a.m. I'm awake, listening, and she's loving this. So that's great. That's great. Come on over when the planes are flying, Willie. Come on over and head to the Asheville area, and they'll take good care of you.
Absolutely.
I have some really fantastic photos that our research department, you know how that is. You are your research department, and you also take out the trash. That's how it works.
Don't forget the windows.
That's right, and pay the bills. So we've got some really cool photos, and I want to take folks through sort of sort of like a semi timeline here if we can.
Sure.
I really like this shot here. This looks like, I mean, everybody's having a grand time. Tell us about what's happening here. What are we seeing in this great shot?
Well, I'm going to put on my glasses and then I can tell you. Oh, I think what we're looking at there is the Asheville Jazz Orchestra. It's an
It says dance time. Yeah, the dancing. And
it's an 18-piece big band. Brilliant big band, really good, with wonderful soloists. And they've been coming here, once, twice a month for the last 10 years. And they have a following, and there they are.
Wow. And the place looks like everybody's having a grand time. Everybody's really happy, and and that's the key. Everybody, I'm sure they leave really happy and content. Here's another shot here. So you've got some tables and candlelight. So do I see like stools, a mic, and is there a piano maybe in the back there? Or
you're looking at the stage from near the back, and on the right there is our wonderful Yamaha grand piano, which is a great piano. It's served us very well, and the stools are, people need to sit. Those two stools, particular ones actually, are the Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen stools. Those are the ones I used to sit on. The
Olsen Twins, really? Yeah.
It's that's not an atypical looking audience for what we do.
Right. Now, people may say, oh, well, is there only one kind of music, one kind of vibe there? Is it a variety of different types of vibes? Or how do you describe what people can expect depending on, what performance they're coming to see or what evening or special event it is?
We do almost everything. We do a lot of Celtic. Speaking of Celtic, we do some bluegrass. We do a lot of folk. We do world music.
You do jazz?
Rock and roll. Yeah, we do a lot of jazz.
Yeah.
And it's people like it that way. I mean, everybody's not going to come to everything anyway, so you might as well be providing them with enough variety where they can come twice a month and find out something that they like.
Exactly. Got another shot here as well. It's a cool one here.
Oh yeah, that's trying to remember which band that is. Oh, that's a
it's a Musica.
No, that's not. This is a Cajun band. I'm trying to remember the name.
Cajun, yeah.
Which also sort of makes for a lot of dancing. Or at the very least, the tapping of the foot and the movement of the leg.
Yeah. Looks like they're having a grand time. Good old time there. Got some more shots too. This is a nice one. I love seeing, being the broadcast guy background here. I love this control board. That's really, really nice. So what are we seeing? I see a whole band, like a group of musicians with sort of like a conductor of sorts right there behind. And we're seeing this cool shot of the control board as well. Tell us about what we're seeing there.
It's the Land of the Sky Symphonic Band. There are about 40 of them, 35 to 40 of them. And they play with us every Halloween and every 4th of July. And they have found a piccolo player that can cut the piccolo part to Stars and Stripes Forever.
Wow.
And it's a really nice band, a community band.
That's nice. That's cool. And it looks like, you got all the top shelf equipment and lighting, and, it's really, you're going to come and have a really great experience. How big is it? How many people can you hold? Is it one big building? Are there other buildings? What's the physical prowess of the actual campus of sorts like?
It's one big room with the addition of a green room for the artists and a sound booth and the usual stuff like that. But by and large, it's one big building. We also have a bunch of couches so people you can sort of see.
That's nice. Yeah, I love the lighting and the candles. I mean, I could see it being. It also reminds me a little bit of maybe a tad of the old school supper club type thing. A little bit. You go out to dinner, you have some food and drink, and you get entertained, and it's relaxing, it's cool, it's fun, there's a nice vibe, there's a lot of color, and variety, and I mean, I'm just looking at the lighting grid that you've got. It's all top shelf stuff there, and really, really nice. You've really made quite an investment in this facility, huh?
Right. Well, yeah, we're overall we keep poking at it and adding a little of this, a little of that. There you're looking at the bar.
Whatever you want, it's on tap.
You know what? Because we're a listening room,
Yes.
and not a regular bar, we have an incredible selection of good local beers, and a thoroughly tested, I might add, selection of nice international wines.
Yes.
But we don't serve liquor with a drink because I found it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not conducive to listening. So
Right. Exactly. Right. Exactly.
So I think we lose money by not having it, but it's all part and parcel to try to keep it be a listening room.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Really, really interesting. I like that. Here's something that was sent my way. We've got masks and everything. What's happening here?
Well, it's my birthday.
Yes.
And this is basically, I think just about everybody there is part of the ongoing staff or serious hangers-on.
Yeah.
And
masks, and they're 6 feet apart, the masks, and you got the whole thing going. The works. Yeah. I actually, in doing my research here, one of my favorites, Bob, is this one. That's cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's continuation of the birthday. And there's, that's my good friend there. I think he lost his eyes after a while, but
as the night went on, right?
Yeah. And there's the old boy himself.
Cool shot. Really nice shot. When you look at all of this and you look at the time that you've put in and all these years, and I love this shot too. I opened up with this one. Is this, at the home, at your house, or is it at part of the venue? Or
that's part of the venue.
That's part of the venue, really. Was it like a little couch relaxation area?
Yep, there are about 4 or 5 couches, and
nice.
You can relax.
So, like you said, people come from when they're able to. Obviously, before everything we've been going through the last couple of months, which has been crazy, but generally, people come from not only the South; they come from all across the country and beyond, right, to visit this unique venue that you've created, this experience.
Yep. Especially in the summer, we'll get people from all over the world.
That's absolutely amazing. And you've got some people, when things open up again, I will go up for one weekend. She lives in North Carolina, only a 4-hour drive from me. That is very...
Ernestine, if you do that, come and tap me on the shoulder so we can say hello.
Absolutely. That's right. Absolutely. He'll greet you, and Linda says happy birthday as well. And they're really enjoying this. So, when you look at all of this, this is the pleasure. I know there's a lot of work involved in keeping something like this going, especially now during these times. But when you look at these various aspects of what you've done, Bob, from the performer, and in a way, you're born a performer. You're always a performer. You're performing in different ways with different hats, whether it was performing to be able to negotiate deals and work things out for some of these artists, performing in terms of creating this phenomenal experience and this venue for people as well to experience and to enjoy, and to be left with some sense of, what, we really like this place. We like the vibe, the atmosphere, the respect, the civility, the treatment. We want to come back, and we're going to spread the word. You are still a born entertainer throughout all of this, aren't you, Bob?
Hatched. I think I'm a hatched entertainer.
Yeah, really, very much so. What continues to bring you, the blessing and the joy? I mean, you've worked with some of the greats in the industry. You've helped guide and lead to success in music and film and television, some of the greats in the industry. You are one of the greats in the industry. You've also created this amazing venue for some of them and others to come and strut their stuff to an audience of people who want to be there and come into almost this kind of like their living room, your living room, in this setting of the beautiful venue you've created. What are some of those blessings and joys that continue to propel you forward in the way that you've constantly been not reinventing, but you've been tapping into all aspects threaded together beautifully, of what you do.
I think sort of at the heart of it is probably still the music itself. That changes and morphs too. I like different things at different times, but there are some real constants musically, and they are, they light your life. They will, if you let them. Also, we were talking earlier about the fact that there are a lot of very good, wonderful people around here, and those are another thing that are a constant. And I've tried my best over time to seek out the ones that I think are that, and quite a few of them around here. A lot of really good people, a lot of fun, a lot of interest, and a lot of heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else you want to do, or beyond everything you've done? I mean, you've had your hands in just about all aspects of the entertainment industry, and in really impactful ways, Bob. Anything else you still see other than maybe a memoir or an autobiography or something talking about your experiences?
Well, as we've said a couple of times, once you're bit with this, you're bit. So yeah, I've got a drawer full of things I'd love to do.
Do you ever perform at the venue?
Sure.
Yourself? Yeah.
Well, we do open mic every Tuesday night, and so it's my stage. They can't kick me off,
That's right.
And I would like to. We were just talking about Rebecca and her group doing this control booth, and I don't know where that goes exactly, but I know that there's room for what it wants to do. There's room for it as music. There's room for it as drama. There's room for it as all sorts of programming. And God, if I had given my unlimited amount of funds and a little more time, I'd love to have White Horse Black Mountains in about 5 or 6 major cities in the world where the music that's indigenous to this neighborhood already has a toehold. So, don't get me started. I can go on, half the night with the stuff I like to do.
With some of the dreams and some of the ideas. And have you thought about putting any of this down on paper, writing a book?
Yep, I am. I'm trying it. I have this running event music venue will eat you alive time-wise. So I've got to figure out a way to either isolate the time to do it, or to get a co-writer, which would help a lot. Or I might. The other thing I've been considering is doing it on video. So so that I do a show here every once in a while called Songs and Stories, which are sort of that. It's caused me to have an outline for whatever this turns out to be. So I do that. We've talked to a couple of people about it. In fact, Rebecca's one of them. We talked about the idea of just sitting me down in front of a camera, letting me run my mouth.
No script, just conversational, just you being you, right?
Yeah. And then and then putting it together in the way it seems to be want to put together with whatever else we can stick in there.
A couple of people asked, do you have any footage or anything on, like YouTube, places like that, of performances or anything that people can check out?
Not a lot, no. The band that I was in called The Good Earth, which before that was called The Virginians.
Really, yeah.
Somewhere there is can't tell you how to get there right now, but somewhere there's a video of us at some local TV show, not a bad show, that I think there's about 5 or 6 songs, which are good. But if you look for The Virginians, you'll find it in some way. Otherwise, there's a little of this, little of that, but there's no. I grew up before video was the big deal.
Right.
So, in my heyday, it was all audio and standing
live performance, too, right there. Absolutely. What do you listen to? I mean, you've had access to all of this incredible music and talent and entertainment. When you want to kick back, what's the material that you like to listen to that speaks to you, Bob?
It's a variety. Sometimes I have favorite albums, of course, and they're all over the place. Sketches of Spain by Miles Davis is one of them. Stan Freberg Presents the United States of America is one of them. One of the funniest albums ever recorded. Music from around here, some of the really good bluegrass,
local,
writers and players. And I think my default is probably Johann Sebastian Bach. I do a lot of listening to Bach and other sort of composers of his era.
So you really appreciate, as I do too, which is what I really appreciate about you. You appreciate all of it, all aspects of it, in so many different ways, shapes, and forms.
Well, it's, I've forgotten who it was. I think it was Dizzy Gillespie who said, all music has soul. You just have to stop, stand still, and listen for it because it's there.
That's so right. Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. And then there's James Brown too. I feel good. You know what I mean? We just had, I don't know if you know him. We had Holly Farris on the other night. And Holly,
I know who he is.
yeah, he, amazing guy, down to earth, regular guy from really Tennessee. He played a little bit for us as well. He was on just a couple of nights ago last week. And, he had an amazing thing happen. He and his local band, Nashville, when he was, I think, in his 20s, they got a gig in Atlanta. So, they were just a regular scrappy band doing their thing. They got the gig in Atlanta. The band was actually on the verge of sort of breaking up. Everybody wanted to sort of go their own way and do their own thing. So they're performing at this club and this bar or what have you in Atlanta. And in walks James Brown. Mm. And James Brown here, Holly is a trumpet player, musician and trumpet player for years, 50 years. I want that guy. That guy, I want him here. And, immediately he became part of the James Brown band, which he's still part of all these years later. Experiences like that. Now, I said to him, gee, I imagine the other musicians, the other guys, your friends in your band probably said they were a little premature wanting to break up. They should have waited one more night because here comes James Brown and he taps Holly and there he goes. Experiences like that. Tell us a little bit about things like that may have happened to you where, somebody walked in the room or something happened or you walked in the room and were able to provide that kind of experience for somebody else.
Let's see. Well, I'll give you a good Mary-Kate and Ashley story. We were shooting the first video of Mary-Kate and Ashley. They were barely 6 years old. When it came time we had rented this gorgeous house in Pasadena, and we had a big crew, so it was not a cheap video. Mary-Kate and Ashley showed up for the shoot. They both had terrible colds. They didn't want to do it. Basically, they just want to turn around and go home and, have a cold. They started the video. They did the first few things, and it came up to a scene where they were supposed to sit in a 3/4 size bi-wing airplane with scarves blowing back this way from a giant fan in front of them and the wind blowing on them and stuff. They didn't want, they basically, they refused. They didn't want to do it. So took them under a tree and somewhere on the yard. And we spent about 10 minutes talking about absolutely nothing except, well, that's not true. Talking about everything except what they had to go do. So in just about 2-3 minutes later, I said, so you guys ready to go do this now? And they said, yeah, we think we can. So I was walking back to the set with one of them in each hand. And they had met my son, Zach. So they said, you have children, right? And I said, yeah, Zach. I said, oh, yeah, we like Zach. And I think it was Mary Kay said to me, but you don't have any girls? I said, no, I don't have any girls. And she said, you should. So I thought, okay, maybe I'm in the right business after all said and done. Otherwise, things like that, where there are just moments when things happen.
Even for you, things that have happened for you personally in that similar fashion, like happened to Holly with James Brown.
Here's a good one. On the Stones tour with the Geils Band, we were in Lyon, and we had set up to go have a big dinner at Paul Bocuse's restaurant. Paul is a famous classic French chef, wonderful chef. We went to the restaurant. and I was sort of the last one to the table. And there was some of the Stones there, some of the Geils Band there, and we had our own room. We had a private room, and I was the last one to sit down. And I looked in front of me, and there was the wine list, and everybody there knew that I'm not a wine expert or anything, but I like wine and learned something about it. So they all said, oh, pick the wine, go pick the wine. So I picked the wine. I didn't even want to see what the wine bill was. And the waiter came and he said, so what would you like to have for dinner? And I said, I'm probably never going to come to this restaurant again in my life. I hope I do. But I don't want to order what I want. I want you to tell me and bring me what you want me to have. Mm-hmm. So it was a 7-course dinner, and it just got better and better and better and better. And the main course came, and it was a sea bass. But it looked like it was a whole sea bass, eyes and all, tail and all, on the plate.
The whole thing
hanging off the sides of the plate. So I thought, well, maybe there's some good spices on here, or some good seasoning. Make up for it. Turned out the chef had done, I don't know how he did it. He made this thing look like a sea bass, and what it actually was a layer of sauce, a layer of fish, a layer of seasoning, a layer of salt, layer of fish, layer of seasoning. So it was not a bass at all. It was this incredible pastry thing. Mm-hmm. And it was the best thing I've ever put in my mouth, I'm pretty sure. Wow. And at that same dinner, I always had a tough time getting a word in edgewise in that crowd. And at one point during the dinner, I just sort of raised my hand and said, I'm going to say something. And I'm not sure, but I think it was Keith who said, Puccini begs to differ. Because for some reason he thought I looked like Puccini, the opera composer. And so for the rest of the tour, I was Puccini. There's that.
There is a little bit of a resemblance there.
My operas don't live up to the...
What would you say to somebody watching right now, Bob, who is considering, in this day and age, with all the competition and all the changes and all these venues of contests now, you have to go on a contest show in order to be, have people phone in to like you and stuff and move on from there. What would you say to somebody right now who's considering a career in not just music, but literally any aspect of the arts, of entertainment, of putting yourself out there in the public eye, risking it all, dealing with all the aspects, the emotional, the financial, the psychological, the travel, the hours, the blood, sweat, and tears. If you're gonna go, like you've done, I've done, it's all in, or it's go home and start going to plan B, which would have been an architect and designer if I didn't do all of this industry. But this industry really called me, and it's in my heart. What would you say to somebody else who's considering entering now these industries that we're all in?
Well, I would say the first thing to do, there's two things to do right away. And a lot of people that I consult with now are wanting to know the same kind of thing. And the first thing to do is analyze yourself. Figure out as best you can. Take your time about it. Don't rush at it. Figure out why it is that you want to do this. And what has got you so. Is it because of your family? Is it because you're just so taken with whatever the art is that you're considering entering? Is it because you want to impress your girlfriend or your boyfriend? Why is it that you want to do this? And what do you want from it, as best as you can tell from an early sort of startup kind of position? And then, and really only then, should you analyze the area of the art that you want to be in. If it's music, what kind of music is it you want to do? And look at the marketplace for that music. See what the possibilities are. Do whatever you can to measure the odds so that you've got some kind of an idea of what you're up against. And if after all of that, you still have this idea that this is what you want to do, and nobody's going to take it away from you, then I say go for it. And the next phase of as a consultant for me is, all right, you want to do this kind of music, and you're dead set on doing it. So, and you've looked at that marketplace. So what's the best way for you as an individual to approach that marketplace? If we find that, if you find that you're a great songwriter, then, and you also want to be a recording artist, maybe you should write some songs and get them placed and go that route for a while until somebody realizes that this great voice on these demos is you. There are all kinds of permutations of that. But the theme for me has always been one foot in front of the other until you can take two steps, and then by all means take them.
Exactly right. Exactly. I know some have said that because of just the way things are now, everybody wants that quick, instant gratification. They want the overnight success, all the buzz, the bling, the glamorous side of things, not realizing everything that goes into a career. You don't want a career that takes you just here and here. You want a career that can span a lifetime of, if the riches and all the other stuff come, that's great gravy, but it shouldn't be the thing that propels you. It should be the love of what you're doing, the satisfaction of inspiring and lifting other people and touching other people through your perspective, through your words, through your art. That's what should propel you forward.
As Harry Chapin once said in a song, got to be the going, not the getting there. That's good.
Exactly. So what would you say to somebody who's watching this live right now or in the archives on YouTube at Jim Masters TV, who's in it? Like I was on a TV shoot, and we were in Europe, we were in Greece, and there was this other guy who was he wanted to co-host with me, and I've been doing this for a long time, but he wanted to co-host. And we were all breaking bread, and we were all having some wine, and we had done a full day of shooting on this island called Samothraki, and it was really cool, and it was for this travel TV network series. So he was sort of coming up the ranks, or trying to. He had never done anything like this before. He never did, television or music or any of this. He owned a pizza place, but he was turned on by all of it, and he thought it was all glamorous and glitz and everything. So we were talking about it. We said, hey, what are some of the reasons why you want to do this? Because, as you can see, we're running around with luggage. We're carrying equipment. It's 200 degrees going up the mountain. We almost fell off getting the perfect shot. It isn't all, the stand-ups, the opens, the closes, all the stuff, the scripts, everything we're doing is a lot of work. What do you want to get out of this? What's turning you on about this industry? He says, I just want to be famous. And we're like, that's it? I don't care what it takes. I just want to be famous. I want to be rich and famous. And we all looked at each other. We didn't want to shoot him down, but we all looked at each other like, that'll last about 12 minutes. And then boom, when you're not getting that right away, or when somebody closes the door, or when things happen and you don't get as rich and famous as quickly as you want, you're going to be discouraged. And that shouldn't be the number one motivator for really anything that any of us do. But and we asked them multiple times during this like multi-day shoot, again, what are you getting now that you've been on this shoot for a while? Isn't some of the shoot and the fact that we're doing this and we're creating and the art of it and the craziness of it all turning you on? He's like, I just want to be famous, and I just want to be rich and famous, and that's it. What do you say to that?
Say that that's the quickest way I can think of to not be famous.
Right. Yeah. And we are in a period where I think some think that that's the measure of success. Are you finding that in this day and age compared to maybe earlier?
Yeah, but I am, but it's sort of unfortunate to me, and just to my purview, about the general industry, that much as we've been referring to, like the contest vibe, that what that tends to do almost every time is to take somebody who's in no way ready for what that's going to give them, even if they're successful at it. The best thing that can happen to them is they lose and go back home and figure it out.
Yeah. Right.
It's too there's that, and there's too much manipulation. There's not as much. There's not as much. I mean, people like me used to be, and me and like Albert Grossman and my old partner Jed Hart. We used to be the people, whenever we could, standing between the artist who's trying to be an artist and the business. That was our job.
Right. You were the gatekeeper.
Yeah, and because in part of the bad economics of the music business that we were talking about earlier, because of that, in part, a lot of people are getting manhandled. A lot of people are getting badly treated. A lot of people are not even necessarily on purpose, but a lot of people are just not getting the shot or the intention that they need to have.
They might be talented, but they got so discouraged because they lost the contest or because America didn't vote for them or something else. They go away and never tap into that dream and that talent that has been there and they've always thought about, but this one shot situation shot them down.
Yep. No, that's right. And it's always happened in some measure to some way, shape, or form. And the road, especially on the way to success, has always been thoroughly rocky, no question about it.
Yeah.
But, we're now at a position where the people who are, as I was saying before, who are in the people down at the bottom trying to make their way to the top, to get there, they just don't have the tools that they used to have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's being required of them to have more tools than artists have ever had to have before.
And perfect segue. What would you say are some of those tools? Stamina, resilience, understanding and working through rejection. I mean, all of those things that you don't want to necessarily think about and have to tap into when you're starting out, but things that you're going to be confronted with as you go along. What are a few of the tools that are needed now more than ever? I
think that over the long haul, a good self-image is one of the very best things that you can have. I think that you'll never be, if you know who you are when you start down this trail, and you can hang on to that, and you can surround yourself by people who love you for that, as opposed to loving you for what they think you may become, then you've got, you've opened up a chance for further development and further, further times in the business that you're trying to be in. Also, you've got to know, even if you've got a good manager, a business manager, a publicist, or attorney, or any of those things, you've got to understand the business that you're in. You've got to understand even if you have great people, you have to know what they're telling you. You have to know what the implications of what they're telling you is. Here's a record deal. Great. What does it mean over the course of time? What's going to happen to me over the course of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of this record deal? Because most, or I would say probably, at least as many people as have dropped by the wayside for any reasons, have dropped out because they got the wool pulled over their eyes. They didn't take the time to figure out what was really on that paper, what was really being said, and what it might mean over the long haul. So there's the emotional quotient, as you were saying, and that's absolutely right. And there's also the business quotient, and they are not mutually exclusive.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Beautiful words, Bob. You really are amazing. Again, you are very inspiring as much as you are somebody who is a performer and understands the business acumen and having that wonderful facility. You get the human condition. You understand people. You understand what it's all about, right?
Fooled another one, I say.
Yeah. What's it all about, Alfie, right?
Yeah, right.
To be determined. Stay tuned for part 2, right?
Right.
Bob, this has been a pleasure. You really are amazing. And I'm so glad that our worlds came together here. And even my sort of co-colleague here, George Burns, thinks it's fantastic as well. You can't go wrong with having George Burns by your side, huh?
Absolutely. You just got to find a Jack Benny and you'll be in gold.
Exactly. If people want to find more information about all of this and about the facility and everything, where do they go? What resources are available for them, Bob?
The website is whitehorseblackmountain.com. It's as good a place as any.
I like that. Made it very easy. And Ernestine says, Bob, you're amazing, very intelligent person. Love that.
Thank you.
Linda in Florida says, you want a career that you grow with and love. Linda Hutchinson says, I hope there's a lot of young people watching this. Such great advice and amazing interview. Rebecca, watching on the Jim Masters TV channel. Rebecca, I hope you give the channel a subscribe. Give it some love. Rebecca says, answer, do what you love. Absolutely. You can't help it when the muse calls you. And that's what it's all about.
So
absolutely. True. And just so you know, Willie is still with us at 3 a.m. in Holland. That's dedication. She's really, she's enjoying this. 3 a.m. And so have enjoyed listening to you, Bob.
Thank you.
Bob, thanks for all of this great time. I hope we get a chance to come see you and visit the facility and break some bread together and toast together. I do toast you for the time that you spent with us. I hope you have your little can of something there, and we'll do a little virtual toast. There you go. My friend, thanks for... there was something in this glass, but whenever I put it next to George Burns, whenever I lift it up, the darn thing's empty. I think he's got a huge straw. What happened?
He soaked a cigar in it.
That's what I always have been worrying about.
Right.
Great comments still coming in. Bob, thanks for all the time. Thanks for the wisdom, the wit, the understanding of all these different aspects of the business. You've made your mark. You continue to make your mark. The door is always open here at the Jim Masters Show Live. And I hope to be able to come down to see you. I'll let you know when we're in the area, because we're always going back and forth visiting the family in Florida anyway. So it's an easy turn off to the right off 95 to come see you guys. Yeah. And I hope you enjoyed your time with me as much as I have with you, Bob.
I absolutely did, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir. Jim, we'll see you soon.
Absolutely. You take care. You have a great night. And Linda, one more coming in. Have a blessed evening to both of you. Thank you, Linda. We appreciate it. Bob, you be well. Stay in touch, and we'll chat again real soon, my friend. Okay?
Yep, you got it.
All right. Take care now. Isn't that incredible? I mean, when you have an opportunity to talk to amazing folks like that, I hope you were inspired. You know how it works here at the Jim Masters Show Live. We like to inspire people. We like to enlighten you. We have the wit and wisdom and humor. And as we always say, light, levity, and love, or levity in this case. And so many of you have been commenting all night long from all around the world. You learned about Bob Hinkle, the lives he's touched, how he's been touched as well collectively, and all the aspects. I love what he's done, because he has the understanding and appreciation of being a performer, as well as the businessman, and also inspiring and instilling advice and wisdom and mentorship and support for so many greats, as well as the up and coming. And then wanted to create sort of like this oasis, a place where people can come there in North Carolina, in the Asheville area, which is a beautiful area, where you can go and you can spend some time, and you're amongst friends, and your cares are washed away during the time that you're there. So it's really a full circle experience. And he's really you know who he reminds me a little bit, sort of like a Walt Disney, right? A little bit, because Disney really had that understanding of being the performer, the business person, encouraging others, and then creating this wonderland for the good of the rest of us. And that's cool when you have an opportunity to meet people like that. And Bob really is, in his very laid back, humble, and understated way. He won't say any of this, but the rest of us on the planet will say it for him, has all these sensibilities, understandings of the human condition. And that's what it's all about. You guys, thank you very much for all these great comments. God bless you, Bob, and Mr. Levity here, our new word. Good show. Thank you, Kathleen in New York City. Thanks for coming on tonight, Bob. We thank Bob as well. And we thank you for joining us here on the show. Tomorrow night, we've got a wonderful guest, Matthew Arkin, who's a renowned actor. He's coming on tomorrow night. Wednesday, Sean Wiley. Sean stars in Under the Street Lamp. I've interviewed him multiple times in public television. He's an amazing singer, choreographer, dancer. He's going to be with us. Barbara Blyer, who's a phenomenal film, television, stage actress. She's here Thursday. She's all excited. And on Friday, Stanley Livingston. Remember Chip Douglas on My Three Sons? Yeah, the 60s sitcom My Three Sons with Fred MacMurray and William Demarest. Yeah, Chip, Stan Livingston, going to be my guest exclusively here on the Jim Masters Show Live this coming Friday night. A couple of things that we always do here at the show, folks. As I always say, I might be the star of the show, the host of the show, the producer, but I think you guys are the stars. You're with us all this time. You're with us nightly from around the world. You guys are the stars. And I thank you for all the time and joining us the 11 weeks. This is our 11th anniversary, 11 weeks, 5, 10, 1 equals 11. And don't forget to relax, to breathe, to love one another. I say this at the end of every show. Take care of one another. Enjoy life. Listen to some music. Watch some nostalgic TV. Write that book you've always wanted to write. If you're near the coast like we are, we're blessed by being along the ocean and the coast. Go to the ocean. Go to nature. Do what makes you happy. We're in a time right now where we can try to do some of that. And again, share it with the world. And that's a beautiful thing to do. Love what you do what you love. And relax, breathe from the diaphragm. It's a really cool thing to do. So we're going to wrap up, folks. We appreciate your time. We'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. We're here every night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, simulcasting worldwide on YouTube at Jim Masters TV and Facebook at Jim Masters TV. Just a couple of more comments coming in here. Rebecca, I must say it's been a true honor to work alongside him at Whitehorse. Thank you, Rebecca. I hope we get a chance to meet as well. I would love that. Stay in touch. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and of course, YouTube, Jim Masters TV. Linda can't wait for all the exciting other guests. Interesting show. Good night, everyone. See you tomorrow. Willie in Holland, thank you again for sticking with us, Willie. We appreciate that. Kathleen, good night. Linda as well. What makes you happy? Jim Masters, thank you. I'm blessed to hear that. Willie, I mean, you're dedicated. It's, 3 a.m. where you are in Holland. So it's a beautiful thing. And I have taken note that you stay up for us, and I appreciate that. Our corn was good tonight. Yummy Iowa sweet corn there in Iowa. Gonna have to come out to Iowa, or you have to ship it my way. I love corn. I'm glad you enjoyed that with your meal tonight. Hope everybody has a great night. You as well. Isn't this great? It's like one big happy family, kind of like what Bob has created there in North Carolina, a place for people to come and really, collaborate, create, and feel good. That's what I like to do with the Jim Masters Show Live. Again, I do this work professionally, but when we created this 11 weeks ago, that's the mission. Light, levity, lovity, and every night is something different, something unique to keep it fresh for you. So thank you very much, Linda and Renee. Have a good night, everyone. Willie, have a good day. Love you all. Spread the word. Continue to spread the word. Tell everybody about the show. Not only do we have amazing guests, but we have really cool segments on location and inspiring conversations and a little of something for everybody here when you really think about it. I mean, we've done so many cool things together in the 11 weeks, and we've really grown and expanded. And I'm moved by it. I'm blessed. I mean, this is really cool. A lot of people in the industry and friends told me to do this a long time ago, and we have time now to do it. I'm so happy that I did. And as long as you guys are there, we'll be here as well. We thank our very special guest, the one and only Bob Hinkle. He really is an amazing guy, isn't he? He spent a lot of time with us. He opened up his world to us, his wisdom, his suggestions, his real perspective, and we really appreciate that. So we tip our hat to our extraordinary guest, who truly is a legend in music, film, and in the television industry. And he told us a lot of cool things, and we really appreciate that. Yes, family is the Jim Masters Show. Thank you very much, Willie. We appreciate that. We appreciate all of you. This is Jim Masters thanking you for your time this time. Till next time, tomorrow night, I'll be here I hope you are as well, right here on the Jim Masters Show Live. For everybody here, we love you guys. We appreciate all the time spent. We'll see you again tomorrow, right here on the Jim Masters Show Live. Good night. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night and a great day tomorrow. See you tomorrow night.